Thank you for watching the Housing Oregon YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. Slide decks from the presenters are going to be available below. Thanks for watching.
We wanted to put this panel together to talk about the complexities and the challenges of creating mixed-use developments that include commercial ground floor elements that are really intended to make great ground floor communities and build a larger neighborhood vibrance. So with me today, I have Victor with the Vancouver Housing Authority and with City of Vancouver, Rebecca is with Palindrome, and Elsa is with Our Just Futures. And each of them brings a different perspective. Victor is with the Housing Authority, so a public agency, as well as Shannon with the City of Vancouver. Rebecca is with a private for-profit development team, and Elsa is with a nonprofit organization. We originally planned this panel to also include Prosper Portland, who was involved with the Lens project and the project in the Gateway neighborhood. But they got really busy with the TIF district expansion. So I might sprinkle in some stuff from Kay throughout the presentation. I did interview him and talk to him inside of this panel. So I'm Jennifer and I was our architects. I did work on the Fourth Green Commons project. I will let Victor introduce himself. Oh, meet my first stop for 1 second while we get started. While we do that, why don't we ask how many people in the audience are developers? How many of our architects or design professionals? And how many are service providers? What else did I miss? Oh, contractors. Great. It was about people split for those people online. We do have a virtual audience, it sounds like. So we'll try to speak up, not my strength.
Victor Caesar. I'm the Chief Real Estate Officer at the Vancouver Housing Authority. We are the largest provider of affordable housing in Southwest Washington. Been at VHA for almost 7 years, but I will be departing in 6 weeks. So off to new adventures for another. Yeah, nice to meet you all.
Hey everyone, my name is Shannon Williams. I'm a senior planner with the City of Vancouver. I've been there for close to about 7 years or so. Glad y'all are.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rebecca Velave. I am the Director of Development for Palindrome. Palindrome is a for-profit developer based in Portland, but we develop in the Pacific Northwest as well as the Southwest of the mountains.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elsa Mattel. I am the Affordable Housing Director at Our Just Future. We primarily work on development and service in East Multnomah County. And I have been with the organization just over a year and a half, so it's been a while, and it's been really exciting.
So we're gonna let each panelist present a little bit about their project, and then we'll go into this. So the 3 projects really quickly are spread. One's in Vancouver and 2 are on the east side of Portland, all in pretty low income neighborhoods that are trying to develop stronger commercial centers. So really quickly, the Portland corridor, and then our project is towards the center corridor.
Again, my name is Shannon. I'm the city's project manager on the Commons project. I'll talk about the city portion. It is a joint project between us and the Vancouver Housing Authority. So I'll talk about the kind of ground floor commercial that the city owns and focus on that for my portion. So as we just saw in the last slide, the Commons is located in the Fourth Plain area, which is sometimes referred to as the international district of the city. The business district along Fourth Plain Boulevard has about, or just over 100 businesses. Most of them are very small businesses, and the majority of those small businesses are owned by immigrants and people of color. About 1/5 of the residents are born outside of the US, and about 1/3 speak a language at home other than English. So the Fourth Plain area is in central Vancouver, as you saw, and it's named after the main street, Fourth Plain Boulevard, that runs east-west throughout. The Fourth Plain Boulevard is home to the region's first bus rapid transit system called the Vine, but it is also home to one of the most dangerous roads, if not the dangerous road in the city. It's a large 5-lane arterial that you can see in one of the images there. It's currently going through a reconfiguration project, so we're working really hard to kind of improve the safety of the boulevard. About 1 in 5 residents in this area are transit dependent, which makes that much more necessary to improve the transportation safety. And about twice as many families in this area live in poverty as compared to Vancouver as a whole. And 70% roughly thereabout are renters. So this combination making residents in this area very vulnerable to displacement, which is something that we have really dumped resources in this area because of that, focused on anti-displacement measures. And this project is really born out of those efforts. In 2015, the city completed a Fourth Plain Forward action plan that we've been implementing ever since. And this plan highlighted the need to support small businesses, improve the transportation safety, provide placemaking opportunities that celebrate the various cultural identities of the Fourth Plain community. And like I just said, the Commons was really born out of this work. And the 3 primary ground floor commercial spaces that we integrated into the Commons really reflect the needs highlighted during all of the engagement work that we've been doing over the past almost 10 years. So the Commons includes a commissary kitchen from hearing about the needs to support food-based businesses. There were also many small emerging CBOs or community-based organizations that did not have offices at the time that we were planning this project. And so a shared office space was included to support those CBOs, but also to support small businesses and then invite service providers to bring services to the corridor, because again, the transit dependent population has to really travel fairly far out, especially to access state services. And then there's also an event space based on, again, that community engagement. So that's a space that, as you'll see, can support a variety of uses. So focusing in on the kitchen, it includes multiple workstations from prep areas to baking to grills and fryers to support a wide array of food-based businesses. And it includes a very large dry and cold storage area to meet the needs of these kitchen users based on engagement done during the design phase. One of the main goals of the shared office was to foster collaboration among community-based organizations and people really in the general community and bring service providers to the corridor. For example, Clark County Public Health has kind of standing office hours out of the office space to support the kitchen users to fill out food permits, et cetera. So we're really trying to think how the various spaces can kind of build on and support one another. We did a lot of engagement during the design phase, including hosting focus groups with organizations interested in using the space, which highlighted the need to include private spaces for sensitive conversations, spaces conducive for families who are bringing children, and also multiple conference rooms that each had audiovisual equipment for presentations or hybrid meetings. So again, on the event space, again, based on community engagement during the design phase, we included audiovisual equipment at 2 locations in the event space. We have multiple types of tables and furniture that can really be configured in any way that is needed depending on the type of use in that larger event space. During the engagement phase, it became evident that community members really wanted to foster food in their celebrations. So we included a kitchenette in the design, including a full-size refrigerator and warming drawers. And then we've seen a lot of flexibility or a lot of benefits with the flexibility in the space. So you can kind of see in the ceiling in one of those pictures, kind of a T, and then in the lower right-hand corner, a smaller space. So we integrated movable walls so that this larger event space can also be divided up into multiple smaller meeting spaces, depending on the need, if you need a more intimate space, or to host multiple events at the same time. So many office users are using this event space for their programming in really exciting ways. And then there's also a lot of classes that are available for the community, including financial literacy, ESL classes, and we just started a GED program run out of the Commons. So I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of the types of uses and spaces kind of in the ground floor commercial that we've done in the project. And then I'll hand it over to Victor, who will talk about the residential side, because on top of all of this, there's 106 units of affordable housing and some of the financing.
Shannon? So the project was really birthed out of a collaboration between VHA and the City of Vancouver. So quarterly, VHA leadership meets with City of Vancouver leadership, so the mayor, city manager, and department heads, really just to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to development throughout the City of Vancouver. So while VHA was looking for land to build a new property, the City of Vancouver was looking for existing buildings to rehab, to develop the commons. So at one of those meetings, it was sort of decided, like, why not just do a mixed-use building? At the same time, the land that Fort Plain Commons is on is actually on a piece of land that was owned by Vancouver Public Schools. So they have a process in Washington State where they can surplus land between government agencies for free, but did not do it for free. Still have to pay for it, but it was below market. So that was sort of the birth of the project. And then the parcel just south of Fort Plain is actually a city fire station that had unused land behind it. So we picked up another acre of land for parking on the site. So let's see. So really this project was super fast tracked. So this was like an idea in January of 2019. We brought on Salazar Architects and Walsh Construction that summer of 2019. We have what's called Housing Trust Fund application, which is one of the main sources of funding in the state of Washington. Threw together an application in September. We're like, we'll just see how it goes. And we don't get a bullet by next year. And we actually got awarded December of 2019. So we were like, okay, great, jump on this project, start community engagement. And then COVID happened in March 2020. So most of our engagement transitioned to virtual engagement, but some of the City of Vancouver pivoted really well. So Shannon said 106 units of affordable housing. We created a condominium structure to separate the residential from the commercial space. Just to help with financing. The project is funded with 4% low-income housing tax credits, private activity bond cap through the State Finance Commission, State Housing Trust Fund dollars, City of Vancouver Affordable Housing Fund, VHA, and a sponsor loan into the project as well. So that funded the residential piece. On the commercial side, the city went through what's called a Section 108 program. So cities and counties get CDBG funding. They can actually bond against that funding if they choose to and just pay it back over years. So the City of Vancouver bonded, I think, $6 million of their CDBG allocation to finance that. And then our great Senator, Senator Cleveland gave us a direct appropriation. So it's sort of like 2 direct appropriations. So it's pretty much like an earmark. They just don't call it that, but we have an earmark to help the project. And I would say one big component with made this finance is that we have a pretty unique HUD contract on half of the residential units. So we get like super high market rate rents, and the tenants go just pay 30% of their income towards rent. But that allowed us to leverage way more debt than we would have with just the low-income housing tax credit rents. So that's really the brought the project together. So it's a $50 million project. I'd say just shy of 40 million is the residential component, and about 11 million is the commercial components of the project. Oh, 106 units, combination of studios, 1s, 2s, and 3-bedroom units. Probably won't do studios ever again because lifestyle clients are pretty comparable, and why choose a one bedroom, a studio if you live in a one bedroom, so for future.
So next, we're going to talk about the Big Fish project, which was a positive Portland start. Questions. So I'm asking that question about the from our communities and citizens and community around that for that particular project. So for those spaces, do you have any huge topics for any of that? Like how do you keep it running, and then also like what type of financing did you get for that space? Because I know typically different in the city of Vancouver providing each other development incentives on that commercial space specifically.
So the city actually developed it. We own, and then we are partnering with community-based organizations to actually operate the space. In order to build it out, we use the Section 108 loan that Victor mentioned. The 2 appropriations by the state were for the commercial part. We also used other CDBG funds, as well as American Rescue Plan Act funds. So it was like a real hodgepodge, in addition to some general funds as well. So that's just the construction part. And then in terms of like the operations, keeping it going, we do charge fees to use the space. However, our main goal is to make the space accessible to the local community. So those fees are actually pretty low. So we'll have like a corporate rate for people coming in that could pay like a market rate, but then we have a community rate that we're seeing most people are taking advantage of, which is great to see, because that's where we're seeing a lot of this programming happen. Same thing on the office space, same thing on the kitchen. So it is going to take some subsidy by the city and an ongoing manner. Right now we're running at about, we're not fully up to speed, and we're subsidizing at about 30,000 a month. So it's a lot. We're hoping to get that down to a more sustainable amount. But again, the goal is to make it an accessible space and to see the community benefit happen, which is not something that the market rate could support. So we know that there's going to be some level of subsidy going forward.
Were there any like incentives, like did you have to pay system development charges on that space for the tenant improvements, or
we paid everything that we normally be paid if somebody else came in? That was not the city to develop. We had to pay all the permitting and development charges.
Can you speak about the experience condoizing, any lessons learned?
Should we save that for then we all have a lesson?
Yeah.
I think we'll save that one for the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all of these projects are maybe not involved. Have on the rights to license. Thank you. Great.
There's one more question.
Problem has already fully that your rental space was
sort of similar. So we just have Washington State prevailing wage. So since we transferred we triggered Davis Bacon by default, and then it was over 4 stories. So we were already in that sort of commercial prevailing wage world. So but it's not as hanging on to mentioned rules over here.
All right, I'm struggling with this mic today. Yeah, good morning again. My name is Elsa Talashi. Her pronouns. I'm here to tell you about our Big Fish project. The Big Fish project is a beautiful, functional building. It is located in the heart of the Gateway neighborhood. It is a collaboration that spans for many years, and partnerships, and it's a very complex project, and it's hard to summarize it in 5 minutes, but I'm going to try. It was named after the Commissioner McFish, and it was a collaboration between Preston Portland, Perks, Pulse as the architect, even as the consultant, development consultant, and our Just Future as the owner developer. The main goal of this project was it was envisioned to be a catalytic project in the Gateway neighborhood. It was meant to be a revitalization effort within the community and to be responsive to the community's voice as well as an asset to the neighborhood. The history behind how the project came to be was in 2008, the Parks Department purchased the property with Prosper Portland. There was an RFP in 2015, NOVA, and in 2016, the project was awarded to our Just Future. It started construction in 2019, and in 2021 was the first move-ins, right smack in the middle of the pandemic lockdown. So that was interesting. The design of the design is essentially two buildings. The first building is faces Halsey Street, and that is the commercial piece. It's a retail and commercial space. The retail space up at the second floor is currently owned and operated by our Just Future, and that is also where our office space is located, our main office space. And then the bottom floor is the commercial space, and that is owned by Prosper Portland. Several different offices there, as well as we're currently in the process of working on TI with early childhood space there. The building in the back there is the residential space. That is a mix of 75 total units of both affordable and market rate. And for those of you that have worked on condo structures, this was a doozy. The retail space was not bifurcated in what we typically see between affordable and market rate. It was mixed throughout the building, and it was financed with 4% tax credits, bonds, as well as new market tax credits. So we're going to start talking about condo and how that piece plays in. It was incredibly complex and incredibly difficult. The affordable building has 52 units, 30 to 60% AMI, and the market rate piece has 23 units, 5 of which are 80% AMI and 17 are unrestricted. There is also this amazing plaza space that's just adjacent to Discovery Park, and it is a great space. It currently is being utilized for several different community events, and I think it's worked out well. There was 24 parking spaces that were equally distributed among the affordable housing and the market rate piece. In terms of the financing structure, so there is a lease from Prosper Portland of both a land lease and an air right lease. The affordable housing component, as I previously mentioned, was financed with 4% tax credits and bonds. There was also equity that was provided by PNC. There was a TIF loan as well as Metro TOD funds. The middle income on the market rate housing was financed with new market tax credits as well as a senior loan and a cash flow loan from Prosper Portland. I think that was a very important piece of the financing and what made the project pencil. And then the office space was financed with grants and contributions and tax credits. The community engagement process was very essential and very important to the community. It was a long and tedious process. We spoke with the community and tried to listen to their needs, and of course the needs of also understanding that and acknowledging those that have the land and utilize the land for us. So we were really trying to be cognizant of that. All the while, the naming of the project was by an event, but it was interesting. You know, let's see what I want to talk about. I do want to mention talk a little bit about the race and social justice component, because I was very important and important to our organization, and some lessons learned around that. We, through the community engagement and staff input, we really wanted to focus on making sure that the units were just and equitable for our residents. And so that was very important, and the outcome of the mix of units within the residential building, which of course created a complexity. As we all know, social justice doesn't always parallel with our systemic financial assistance, and really helping fund affordable housing. That was incredibly interesting. The other thing that I want to mention is how space is currently being utilized, and have we met the goals and the vision of the space. But like I mentioned, the plaza is very utilized. We have several community events, and I think we're taking full advantage of the plaza, and it's working really well. The commercial space, which is owned by Prosper at Portland, is currently fully utilized. The child care organization is currently on their TI, so it's been quite a process to get someone into that space. The affordable housing component is to lease, and that is working really well. And I think that was sincerely an asset to the community. The market rate component is very interesting. We struggle with high vacancy rates. The area does not support market rents there, and we struggle to keep that piece leased up. We do have 25% of that piece of that space is currently has rental subsidies, so it does have a benefit in that regard. The other benefit is that residents that apply for the affordable housing component and do not qualify or over income, they are still able to obtain a unit within the market rate housing. Of course, they have to pay a little bit extra rent, but they are able to find a place in a building that they like. So essentially, the market rate component has become naturally important.
So we say that the market rate housing has struggled financially. Is there a big impact regarding the overall building performance, and also does that affect conversion, since that the not only 100% occupied or 95%?
Will it affect conversion? So currently we're in our attached credit period that expires in about 3 years. So at that point, we're not. I think we have some questions that we need to think about. Do we want to continue to operate that market rate piece as it is, or do we want to do something different? I don't think that I really made that decision. I think more to come. Maybe back in 3 years that that we decided. And it does. The high, a high vacancy rate always affects the financial stability of any building. And we're seeing that at the moment where we expected the market rate component to cross-subsidize or subsidize the financial aspect of the affordable housing component, we're seeing that that's not the case. It's the opposite. In addition, high insurance costs have really played a large impact on the building. And so at the moment, the market rate coming up is financially strong.
Thank you.
We will move on to the next presentation, which is Oliver Station. Let's town center. Good morning, everybody.
You're good. You're good. Don't have to push anything.
Can you really? Oh, yeah. Now you can hear me. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Good. See, you know what I love about presenting at this time is everybody's awake. Nobody's tired from the conference. So when we found out when we had this session, I'm super excited. Anyway, my name is Rebecca. I'm the director of the development for Palindrome, and I wanted to talk to you about our mixed-use development, Oliver Station. Go to the next slide. So let's go through the basics. It is in the Lentz neighborhood. Everybody familiar with Lentz? Yeah, okay. Lentz is, you know, it's a really interesting place, right? Because it used to be its own little town. It was absorbed by Portland. It is naturally diverse. And, you know, the neighborhood has had its struggles in the sense that, and some of it was imposed upon them, right? The 205 goes right down the middle. It really messed up the neighborhood dynamics. So, you know, Prosper Portland really took a lead in trying to make this neighborhood, you know, respect and give housing to the people that live there, and do improvements that were respectful of its history. So we partnered with Prosper Portland on a good chunk of the Lentz neighborhood, and Oliver Station is kind of the main project there. It is on the hard corner of 92nd and Foster. So it is 126 apartments. It's either, all the units are either 30% AMI or 60% AMI. It has just under 30,000 square feet of commercial. 6 of the units are permanent supportive housing units, and we have our partners at Join helping us with those. This is a very, very environmentally friendly building. It is LEED Platinum. It is also in the 2019 Earth Advantage Project of the Year. This is a super complex project, and we had so many partners that helped us to make it successful. Everybody from Oregon Housing to Prosper Portland to Metro to the Portland Housing Bureau to Home Forward. Thank you for property tax abatement. It's been really a great partnership with everybody. Next slide, please. Okay, so the basics of the financing. So it has 4% tax credits on it. We also got a lot of energy rebates, energy tax credit equity. The Portland Housing Bureau offered us funds for subordinate housing financing. Prosper Portland contributed $8 million to the commercial portion. We received a $500,000 Metro TOD grant. The tax exempt bonds were offered by Citibank. The commercial loan was Clearinghouse CDFI. And of course, we deferred a big chunk of the developer fee, and we had some SDC waivers. On the operating side, again, we have those permanent supported housing vouchers. Next slide, please. So Palindrome, we started as an affordable housing developer. We're still mainly, that's our role. We also do some market rate units. And we've recently found a passion for doing mixed use and really focusing on what we like to call emerging businesses. These are businesses that are working out of their homes, their garages, a food truck. And we found it's really, really difficult to make that jump from your garage to a traditional commercial brick and mortar space. You have to pay for tenant improvements. The rents are really high. You've got triple net leases. It's also confusing. So we've really focused both in the Lentz neighborhood, and we've kind of taken that model elsewhere. We've done it now in a couple of places in New Mexico as well, and really try to foster these emerging businesses. It's definitely a passion project for us. When we were thinking about Oliver Station, we wanted to make sure that these emerging businesses are successful. When you're just starting out, there's definitely a high fail rate, right? It's just so hard. So what we try to do in designing this is combine these emerging small business spaces with traditional destination regional commercial. So the regional commercial that we placed here, we have a dentist, a health clinic, and Planet Fitness. These are all places that will not only serve the Lentz neighborhood, but will bring people driving there to increase foot traffic. And then additionally, we have our emerging businesses. We have Bella's Bakery. Anybody been there? We have a hair salon and a personal care center too. You know, when we did this, again, we wouldn't have been able to do it without Prosper Portland. Is Prosper Portland here? No? Oh man, saying such nice things about them, they're not even here. They're really great though. So they gave us $8 million again to construct the capital portion, but then they went even further. They gave the emerging businesses $50,000 to do tenant improvements. That's really huge. That's really, really big. Also big is they really provided, Prosper Portland provided a lot of small business support, the hand-holding, the explaining how this works to help them to be successful. Next slide, please. So combining tax credits with commercial, it's hard. It's really hard. And then combining with adding emerging small businesses with that makes it even harder. So again, first lesson learned, these businesses need a lot of support, a lot of it. We were lucky at Oliver Station, Prosper Portland did that mostly. And as we've replicated the model elsewhere, we've taken on that ourselves. Luckily, we love it. We love supporting these businesses, but you have to realize there's going to be a lot more time involved in supporting these businesses. Next, we realized that tax credit investors really don't want anything to do with commercial property. So you're going to have to condominiumize. And there's a lot of hidden costs there. I would say for Oliver Station, there was about $200,000 of costs that we were not anticipating. From the lawyers, from the surveys, from the insurance, it just got pretty complicated. And then the financing was probably the most difficult part. So on the tax credit side, so Fannie Mae is one of our favorite investors for tax credits. When they work with our syndicator on this one was Korea. Unfortunately, they have a rule that they do not want to invest and buy those tax credits in properties where commercial is more than 20% of the net operating income. That's hard, especially when you're talking about an affordable housing community, because you're really not getting tons in rent, right? So that 20% comes very quick. It's even harder if you really want to push the rents down to serve our most vulnerable members of our community. Yeah, there are other investors besides Fannie Mae, but Fannie Mae tends to offer the highest per dollar rates. So that makes it challenging. The lending side was the most difficult part of the financing side though. Our residential permanent lender was City Community Capital, and our commercial lender was Clearinghouse CDFI. Now in Arizona, I'm sure you guys know this, you can't I'm in Arizona, sorry, Oregon, I'm here, sorry. I think I was there last week, I'm so sorry. In Oregon, you cannot condominiumize until you've built it. The structure has to be there. That makes sense, right? Because you can't like divide up ownership of something that doesn't exist, right? The problem with that is since there's not a condominium structure, you have to have one construction lender. So Citi had to be our construction lender. However, they weren't going to have anything to do with the commercial component. They only wanted the bonds piece, the residential. So they needed to be sure that there was a takeout of the commercial portion of that construction loan. Unfortunately, traditional commercial loans, they don't offer that type of forward commitment. It's just not what they do. It's not part of their loan structure. But Citi wouldn't move forward without that commitment. So we have a great relationship with Clearinghouse CDFI, and they did us a huge favor on this deal. Essentially, when we closed on the construction financing, we also had to kind of close on the commercial permanent loan, even though we didn't need it at that point. Then Clearinghouse had to put that money into escrow and wait for us to finish construction, which resulted in a ton of negative arbitrage issues for everybody involved. This was a really big thing for us. It was a huge leap of faith, and we're really thankful for them for that. The other lessons learned is it's really challenging to blend market rate commercial with below market rate commercial. You know, you need those market rate rents to support your pro forma to hit the numbers you need to for your lender. But then everybody gets in the building and then they start talking and they're like, why are you paying this much and I'm paying this much? And it gets a little bit complicated there. Next slide, please. Okay. I'm from the public sector. I'm just recently in the private sector. So I always like to think about what policy changes we can do to make this situation better. The first thing is I really think we need to work and pressure whoever we need to for Fannie Mae to get rid of this 20% requirement, because it's just very frustrating for everybody involved. You know what we're talking about. The next thing is that we are very lucky that in Oregon, Prosper Portland offers so much capital to support commercial development. And I really think there needs to be a commercial senior loan program that's just for tax credit properties, just for supporting emerging small businesses, that's supported by the public sector, because I don't think most developers are going to find a commercial loan and a clearinghouse CDFI that was generous enough to do what they did for us. Secondly, I think we need to work with the tax credit syndicators on their rules. So not this development, but we just closed one in Wilsonville, Oregon. And we had some huge issues at the end. It's right on their bus transfer station, right near the commuter rail. It's like 121 units, and on the ground floor, we have a coffee shop and a tap room. And we really like putting these kind of commercial components because it really draws a lot of people and creates activity on the site. Well, our syndicator on that deal had an internal rule that we couldn't have taps. They would not invest in properties that have taps. I think this is based on, like, you know, outdated views of microbreweries. Like, they think of bars, they think it's a negative use, but especially in Oregon and most of the United States, these microbreweries are not a negative use. It is a positive use. So that caused a lot of problems because it was like 3 or 4 weeks before we closed. They're like, you can't count any of that income that you were planning on from your microbrewery. And it just destroyed the forecast. So I think we also need to work with our syndicators on updating their rules. The final policy changes, I would love to see that if we developed some kind of reserve to support these emerging businesses. We're doing a really good job here of, you know, supporting the tenant improvements, giving them the mentorship they need to be successful. And in the first like 5 years, those businesses are extremely vulnerable. And when the pandemic hit, they hit these small businesses the hardest. It would be great if there was some kind of working reserve that we could do to prop them up when there's something that happens that's outside of their control. And that's it for me.
I think that's a great segue to the panelists or policy makers.
I would just add a lot of what was just said. I think the struggle with doing mixed use with tax credits is like no one wants to underwrite the commercial rent, even if you have dedicated like leases in place. A lot of syndicators don't even underwrite. You know, we've had folks just do like $1 per year. I'm like, that's great, but I can't get a loan with $1. And so that's really the big thing. I think Washington is a little bit more flexible in a lot of ways than Oregon is when it comes to. But I think we and Washington, especially Vancouver, Southwest Washington, we don't have any sources like there is in Prosper Portland. So we sort of had to figure out how to finance the commercial piece on our own. So for us, same deal where we had Wells Fargo for construction financing, and they wanted a takeout source of the city. So they had to commit up front, which is awkward because we didn't really know how much it was going to cost. So they signed a purchase and sale agreement and agreed that they were going to pay that once they got a CO, and that satisfied our investor to close our loan. But it was sort of risky on both parts if something would have went wrong. But yeah, I would say any type of sources that can support small businesses would be great, because again, Vancouver's not a community like our CDBG funds, they get like $1 million a year to be spread across the entire county. Like it's just not realistic that we can come up with $8 million to finance a ground floor commercial space.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, but I would just kind of double down on that last part about the financing on the commercial side. Because even on the city side, we pulled together all these various resources, but if we just didn't happen to come out of pandemic, that gave cities American Rescue Plan Act funds, like millions and millions of dollars that we could tap into to fill our funding gap, it wouldn't have happened still. So.
In my policy chamber.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would echo what the rest of the panelists said. It's really hard to make a performa a commercial space when commercial rents are not allowed in the when underwriting is known. So I think I would echo that. Also, for this project in particular, just taking into account that sometimes it takes a minute to lease up some of those commercial spaces, especially during a pandemic.
I think I have an easy question. Do you feel like including the commercial space in your project, maybe even your principal practice was it?
Definitely. I think that, you know, it just creates that activity. It creates that feeling that really makes people excited to be there and want to live there and really revitalizes communities.
Yeah, I absolutely think that having the ground floor commercial, ours is a little bit unique in that all of the spaces on our ground floor commercial, it's not, you know, finding businesses come in, but the city is, you know, through a CBO partner operating each of those spaces for community benefit. So, and we are seeing those community benefits now that we're a year in, we are really seeing those come to fruition. So absolutely having the ground floor commercial has been amazing for the local community.
For us, we were surprised at how many residents that live in the apartments actually access resources. We did a sort of late grand opening, and one of the residents has a food-based business, and she uses the incubator space, and she cooks small business. Like that's just like something that, you know, it would have been. We thought that'd be awesome. We don't think it actually happened. So it's great that it actually happens.
Yeah, I would say definitely. We, in our project in particular, I think the revitalization has come from the residential space. At the beginning, there was from the community there was pushback, but I think as the project has now been you know in leased up, and the community sees that their fears were unfounded. It has definitely, I think, switched and provided that benefit to the community. The plaza space, like I said, is very utilized and definitely has created that revitalization that we were hoping for. I do feel like this project is definitely a catalyst. Our Just Future is working on a future project adjacent to this one. So it's only the beginning of the revitalization of the future.
I have a question specifically for also last we were preparing for this. We talked about the struggles and turnover on the commercial units and so we talked about how you dealt with commercial.
Sure. So we have a few other properties that have a commercial component to it, and we have struggled with keeping those spaces leased. We have dealt with it by really focusing on organizations that have that social aspect to them, that are really focusing on and that really have the same vision and mission as us in an effort to retain tenants for long periods of time.
I think when I talked to Prosper Portland, one of their goals is they're continuing to evolve their priorities is keeping tenants in place. So they try to diversify the types of tenants they're bringing in, not rely solely on certain businesses. And combining different types of businesses in their experience has really helped them keep tenant in place. And then as Rebecca talked about, having the tenant so maybe we had a conversation about ongoing insurance. And then we were talking about the examples.
Yeah, condo insurance is super expensive in general, and then once they find out that you have affordable housing, it's like ridiculously expensive. So VHA has 3 mixed-use buildings. One of them is served by our market rate portfolio, so that one decent price for condo insurance and it's structured correctly. For both Fourth Pine Commons and another project that we own in downtown Vancouver, we got close to like north of $100,000 annually to have property condo insurance. It's just ridiculous. Like you can't, finance that. If our debt coverage went down, like so we are structured weird. We don't actually have condo insurance at Fourth Pine Commons. Each unit owner has their own policy, and it's sort of like steps out policy. Which we already got to test out. It's within 6 months we had a fire. And so and the fire went out really quick with great sprinklers, but then the sprinklers get cut off for like 20 minutes. So we flooded like half the building. So we got to test it out. And unfortunately, fortunately, it was only like in a very select piece of the commercial space, like literally like the water pool over one of the offices. But yeah, having a coordinate between 2 insurances and then pointing the fingers, we have housing authority insurance and we aren't allowed to cover commercial space. So to tell the great city partner, like you have to file a claim, I'm so sorry. And we'll try to like reimburse you like some way, somehow. So it's not ideal, but I mean, that's the only way we could make the project pencil. And our other project, it's even more complicated because we don't own one of the units and it's like a market rate developer. So he really was not entertained by this idea until I kept showing him all the quotes and he finally got on board because he didn't want to pay 8% of the $20,000 policy. So not ideal, very expensive. If there's some way that we could make it work, that would be great. We've also been wanting to do home ownership, but again, condo insurance. Again, just the building bill is just ridiculous. So we've not been able to make a condo affordable housing project work. So lots of work to do on the insurance front.
Yeah, echo that. It's extremely expensive. Our policy it increased significantly. This year we were at a point at one point that we might not have been able to get insurance and have to go with a different carrier outside of our normal brokerage firm. It was very stressful. We're about 300,000 annually.
Each of you share maybe the
I think Lentz is just seeing such a transformation, and I think Oliver Station at that hard corner, at that important hard corner, it just changed the neighborhood, right? And so I think our success is just when you go there, it feels like there's a lot of activity, and it just feels great to be there. And because of that, we were doing a lot more development in Lentz. And so I think the success is that it truly has catalyzed other development in the area and more affordable housing.
I feel like my predecessors would say that the major success of this project is getting it built. Since it was so complex and for an organization as ours, it was new. But I would say that definitely the residential piece and moving residents in and seeing how the commercial component really mixes in well with the market rate residents, and affordable housing piece and how everything just works, and all of the fears and all of the negative, I think, initial thoughts have been abated, and the project is doing well.
I think for us, just generally the kind of overall goals of, providing space for collaboration and supporting the community, these things, we're actually seeing them happen. One of the kitchen users had I think he had maybe just opened a food truck when he started using the space, and he's grown. There's multiple food trucks now, and I think probably within the next year he'll outgrow the commissary kitchen and need to kind of get a more permanent kitchen situation. And then likewise from the office, having this collaborative space. There's one organization, they provide music therapy. They're just starting out. They have one desk, they were tiny, could hardly do that. But then through contacts that they've made, being at this shared office with other CPOs, they've grown. They now have, I think, 2 or 3 desks, and they've been able to expand their programming. So we're starting to see this incubation happening. And then users kind of using multiple spaces within the building. So great to see.
For us, I think it's really a very catalytic project for the city of Vancouver. It's sort of been the poster child for the last year, and all the marketing here. I think for us, really the success of the residents has been great to see. Usually, the way we're structured at VHA, once we build the building, I'm kind of the picture, but since we have so many community meetings, I actually get to go over to the Commons quite frequently for community meetings. So it's been great to see residents down, accessing the space. And a lot of the fears, we only put 106 units with 80 parking stalls, and the neighborhood sort of looked out about that. And we're fully leased, and we only use 60% of the parking because everyone uses public transit. So I think, that's a great. So yeah, I think overall, just a really great, iconic project for people.
So we thought we'd open up questions.
I have a question specifically with market community and commercial all together. How do you manage compliance between these 3 different types of real estate? Sure, that's a great question. Luckily for us, we don't own the commercial piece, plus Portland owns it, so they own and manage that piece. In regards to the residential, Cushman Wakefield manages both the office space as well as the the residential space. It's worked out fairly well. I think they do an amazing job, and they've been our property management from the commencement.
Is voting on 6 new tax income finance districts next month. And it's kind of an opportunity for us to think about, when we look at that revenue, what should the economic development versus the split be? I don't know if that feels kind of a right time to be thinking about both of these valuable uses of local dollars, and have you thought about what that right balance is for this investment?
I haven't thought much about this, so I have to be careful. So we work in a lot of different states, and I would say that Oregon and the Portland metro area specifically is really great about providing subordinate affordable housing financing, more so than pretty much anywhere else we work. So I think there should definitely be a split, and I think that maybe from a policy perspective, we should, if we want to support emerging small businesses, and we already have a lot of affordable housing resources, maybe to think some of that to go to that commercial component, especially when it's combined with the affordable housing, right? Because it's super difficult, and it's putting a lot of good things together, the affordable housing, but also the affordable commercial space.
I don't know that I have a number in mind. I do know that I think when we start thinking about revitalization, it's very important to keep in mind the communities of color and wealth building aspects, and really thinking about how we can support the communities of color in with businesses and that wealth creation. At the same time, affordable housing is it's just such a high need, and so I do feel like there should be some sort of funding for both, but I don't know that I've thought about an amount or a percentage. So don't know that I can be helpful, but definitely going down the right track too.
Other questions? Yeah, well, we don't all the I'm just curious if you all thought about something on typically and subdivision uses within the site. Is that ever a consideration? Things like that worked?
So at Palindrome, we like pain. So I think we're actually planning a lot more that involve condominium regimes. And so, yeah, I think that would be really smart of us. And the reason we do this is because we're really committed to urban development and urban planning. And so we really like the feel of the ground floor commercial with the residential above. We think it's really good for the community. It's good in terms of, like, you know, density and combining the uses. So I think that's definitely something we should think about more, but I'll tell you, all of the ones we've got planned are condominium at this point.
Yeah, I feel like we're a glutton for punishment, so we'll definitely do it again. The residential piece and the mix of the market rate with the affordable piece was an interesting structure. Some of it came out of the social justice conversations, and that I think that it did add a significant level of complexity. I don't know that it's something that I have thought about doing again, although it has created significant benefits for the project.
That's just a choice. So in Vancouver, we changed that code. So if you're doing an affordable housing development with commercial, you get a waiver. If you're doing commercial development, which is great. So for us, this is definitely a choice that we want. We felt that this is what the community needed and what's the right fit for the piece of land. But historically, yeah, we would avoid trying to mix this. But it just, if the project makes sense, it's what the community wants, to sort of lean into that.
Rebecca, so the challenge is closing on a commercial loan or construction loan with a commercial component. Was that also an experience that looked like
yeah, for us, like I said, we really needed the city's commitment as the takeout source, because VHA wasn't in a place to sort of commit to the takeout. It was, yeah, almost $11 million for the takeout. So yeah, our lender, they wouldn't proceed until we had some way to take out, especially when it comes to those communities somewhere that wasn't really going to generate revenue. They were like, thank you for this. And so, yeah, the PSA between the city with that way to get over that hurdle for us.
Yeah, I'm not. I knew when I did this panel that there was going to be a question that I wasn't going to be able to answer, and that is it. I for this particular project, I'm not sure, but it has been in my experience in previous projects and previous lives that is the case.
Yeah, I'm curious, since mixed use has been a development form for a while now, and I'm wondering why this is still such a challenge in terms of underwriting standards for banks and for insurance companies. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I can take the banks piece. I think for the banks, if you don't have tax credit affordable housing stuff, they are pretty good. They're getting better at mixed use. What complicates it are those tax exempt bonds and how they underwrite and think about it and the rules related to the tax exempt bonds. So that's why I think that in terms of policy, you know, I think you're going to be okay if you do mixed use, if you don't have the affordability and bonds and all of that stuff. But once you add that layer in, that's when you're really struggling to find a commercial senior lender that's willing to provide a forward commitment to the takeout, which not many of them are willing to do.
Yeah, so the market for the properties, it's less of an issue, but really the tax credits layer and that complexity. And then our fourth plan budget in Washington State, we'll take the taxable bonds. So we actually use taxable bonds to build up the commercial space and taxable bonds for the residential space. So we will see that like negative arbitrage is like taken out. But yeah, I would say the tax credits and the taxable bond that to that level is the complexity. Since we're two government agencies, we're actually kind of like an environmental agreement between VHA and the City of Vancouver for the development. And really nice to each other. Like, pretty much they just paid for one of my construction project managers to be their construction project manager, and that was really the gist of it. Like we get all the developer fees, there's the residential piece. So yeah, really nice. I'm negotiating at the door right now, so I'll let you know.
Partner on Oliver Station, but we frequently do partner, usually with the nonprofit organizations. So in the development agreement, usually what's you know, we lay out responsibilities, who's doing what. We lay out the financial risk piece. Usually we're taking the financial risk, but the nonprofit partners really want us to write that very clearly. And then how, I think that and then the split of the developer fee are kind of the main components. Traditionally, when we partner with nonprofits, they you know, help us take on the community engagement piece, and then they help us with the supportive services side as well.
Yeah, for the development agreement, our partners were England as a development consultant, so we did have a development agreement with them. I think the piece that is very interesting in this structure is the, you know, within the operating agreement, we have the 4 condos, right? This property is bifurcated into 4 different condos, and so each of the condos has one voting member. And so playing nice and but still having that membership and being able to vote on the hard decision.
Yeah, quick question. Maybe I heard it wrong, but it sounded like the back on that insurance got elevated because of the affordable housing units attached to it. Is that right?
Yeah, for us, like our broker was pretty transparent. It was like once I added that this was affordable, like the rates just went up.
That's like a real policy FPC area that we started approaching since the need for affordable housing.
Yeah, for us, as we all know, as developers, acuity levels have really increased in our residents. We had 2 fires in 1 year, and that really caused a significant increase in
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.